What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's Hell. Today we're going to be going over the newest CG unit, Raegen is actually his name. Nothing crazy with him, just Raegen. We're going to go over all of the different builds you can do with him. There's a couple of cool builds. His strengths, his weaknesses, his important skills that you need to focus your team around, what good teammates will be good for him, etc, etc. So let's delve right into it for you guys. We're going to start off with his equipment selection. Wide equipment selection here. He's got knives, swords, great swords, katanas, bows. You might laugh at that one, but it's actually pretty funny. His best build is actually with a bow. Lances, fist weapons, and guns. He's got decent armor selection, hats, helms, light armor, clothing, and heavy armor. So he's got all the good stuff as well as light shields, but this man's here to do damage. He's not here to block with no shield, let me tell you that much. Now, his important skills right now, not blue blade ruin, not instant heal, nothing. His most important skill, the one you've been using 99% of the time actually, is going to be Blades of Azure Crimson. Simple skills like Divine Ruination, physical damage 4.8 times multiplier to one enemy, decrease their fire and ice resistance by 60% for 3 turns as well. You'll be spamming this, no other. All of his builds are kind of based around this skill for the most part. Now, he does have some other utility you want to use. Burning Blood here if you need to get his LB up. Fire physical damage 1.8 multiplier to one enemy, increase your limit burst gauge by 6. Okay, he's got Hero's Edge and Mountain Dive for some other utility. He's got a 40% full break to a single enemy that may be useful for you, that may not be useful for you. And then he's got Hero's Edge here, 60% buff for your whole team. If you don't have a Bard, great. If you do have a Bard, not that great. Outside of that, he's got Soul Blazer for some 50% elemental resistance. Don't forget about that. Everything but ice and thunder, I do believe, are covered by Soul Blazer. But as far as like doing damage with your Raegen, what you want to be focusing around, it's Blades of Azure Crimson, alright, and if you want to go all in, Complete Awakening, if you want to hit some huge numbers, increase attack, defense, magic, and spirit by 200% for 3 turns to the caster, mitigate 30% damage taken to the caster for 3 turns, and then he heals HP and MP over time as well. Now this does cost 36 limit burst crystals, not 36 MP, so if you cast this skill, you're giving up the option of actually using your limit burst. Let's go over some of his important passives that he has access to. He does have dual wield anything, alright, that's a pretty important one. Sword Mastery, Dagger Mastery, Katana Mastery, and Large Sword Mastery. So if you're dual wielding him, which you should be doing in 99% of the circumstances, he will get 100% attack while dual wielding, as long as you're using katanas, swords, daggers, or great swords. Okay, then you put his own TMR on him, he gets another 60% from his TMR. It's 160% from a passive into materia. You can see where this is leading. He's here to spam Blades of Azure Crimson. Alright, there's also one other thing he can do. He does have a small amount of utility with Raise, Barfraga, and Barbazaga. Outside of that, none of these other things are all that great. He's not going to be healing that much with Kiraga, so we're not going to focus on that. But remember, he does have some elemental resistances in his kit as well. Now, the other skill that you can focus the build around is Darkness Purging Blades of Azure Crimson. Okay, so this is when maxed out. Physical damage 12 times modifier to all enemies. Decrease fire and ice resistance by 100% for 3 turns to all enemies as well. So most of the time this is like a very Tidus-esque sort of limit burst to go ahead and use. You know, Tidus uses his limit burst to get that 100% water imperil. Raegen uses his limit burst to do a nice chunk of damage here and decrease their fire and ice resistance as well. The problem with Darkness Purging Blades of Azure Crimson is that dual wield is usually what you're aiming for on Raegen, and this does not benefit from dual wield. Remember, when you use a limit burst, it only uses the weapon in your right hand. The left hand weapon that you have that isn't factored in for damage whatsoever. So if you have like 1,200 attack after buffs and you're using like 150 attack weapon, you don't have 1,200 attack when doing this limit burst. It doesn't hit twice. You only have like 1,050 attack, which doesn't sound like that big of a decrease, but it is. It is because math. All right, believe me, guys. Now we're going to go take a look at a couple of builds here for him. 2 distinctly different builds. One that you would think you'd find on Raegen all the time. The other one came out of left field. You could say it broke the sun. All right, guys, so this is going to be the first build focused around dual wielding Raegen like you should be. Some stuff to aim for, what kind of gear you want to equip. So we have Flaming Blade Agni here and a Masamune, and we want one really strong non-elemental weapon and one strong elemental weapon. Doesn't have to be the combination of these two, but remember, he does get those 4 weapon mastery passives, so you want to stick to swords, katanas, great swords, and daggers if able to while dual wielding. Luckily for us, we have 100% attack here from those passives because we're using a katana in a greatsword. We want to stick to an ice weapon or a fire weapon because we do have 60% ice and fire and peril in our kit. So Frivia's Needle is a very nice sword to equip here. If you don't have Flaming Blade Agni, there's a couple weaker swords as well that have fire element, like Dondago's stronger. Like Varun, I think, is a sword with 76 attack and fire element. It's pretty old, but you might have access to that. Outside of that, the headpiece here is basically just going to be whatever your highest attack headpiece is, raw attack. Precious Hairpin is great. You can work towards this with the new Bicorn that just came out, 36 attack there. Black Cloud's got 28, and then from there I think there's a bunch of 20 attack event equipment. Iron Colossus is important here because it's a heavy armor and it's got decent attack. 15 in raw attack on a heavy armor. The heavy armor is important because we're using Sworn 6 Pride Dark in this build, which only gives you 60% attack if you're wearing both not only a greatsword but heavy armor as well. If you're not using Sworn 6 Pride Dark, feel free to use whatever high piece of attack gear you have in your body slot. Desh's Earring here is for 45 attack. We don't use percentage based attack here for this specific build because, as you can see up by the attack, we are at 300% attack, which is the cap. So we use one Desh's Earring and we use one 30% attack equipment. This can be Clanmaster's Headband, this can be Ring on Luciite, whatever you have that gives you 30% attack is what you want to aim for in the long run. If you don't have that, there's plenty of other options. You know, the Fury Ring is a thing for Star Quartz, the Bomb Ring with the attack on it from a trial we should get next week. I'm a little ahead of myself there, but that should be coming out pretty soon. Hero's Vow Dark, definitely what you want on him when dual wielding. This is his own TMR, 30% attack when using, you've guessed it, knives, great swords, katanas, or swords. So we're using a great sword and a katana, so we get the 60% there, 60% from Sworn 6 Pride, 50% from Large Sword Mastery. This could be Katana Mastery if you so choose. Katana Mastery can be farmed up and used on multiple units. Large Sword Mastery, you only have access to one, so if you're using like 2 Raegens or whatever, you can give one Katana Mastery, one Large Sword Mastery, or using like Sephiroth. What you get the gist of it. And then the last slot here is going to be open for a killer. Raegen can hit 300% attack from all of his gear, go over the cap, still need some raw tech like Desh's Earring, and still have slots for a killer. So that's awesome there. This is what you want to be aiming for. We went over all of the different sort of things you can work towards while building your Raegen up. Now, there's one other build you can do. It's actually better than this build. It's hilarious. It's not really better than this build, but it's hilarious to do. It's a build for his LB. All right, and we have it right here. This is the Raegen that blots out the sun. We have Sunbreaker Raegen. Don't do this at home. Leave it. Leave it now. Turn the channel off. Unsubscribe. No. Okay, so Sunbreaker. Ong's TMR. You can put Ong's TMR on Raegen. Give him Precious Hairpin, Trading Clothes, Double Martial Glove. We're going true double hand, true double hand build on this. Buster Style, Tomb Raider, Adventure 5, and we have a slot for a killer. We have 250% true double hand, 40% attack from Adventure 5. We don't proc any of our masteries. But this build is pretty strong. Okay, this allows your limit burst to hit extremely hard, and that's about it because you're supposed to be dual wielding Chaining Divine Ruination. You need some sort of imbue because Sunbreaker is non-elemental. Don't do this build. It's unless you have a full team. You need to be able to spam his limit burst over and over and over. But Raegen can do an extremely good impersonation of CG Jake, which is hilarious. If you have all of the gear for CG Jake and you just do not like the character, throw all of the gear on Raegen over here. Okay, give him all the entrusting goodness and 10 mans. Give him the imbues and peril for him, and he will do a bunch of damage with his 12 times 0 multiplier. He hits 1354 attack still. That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. But guys, stick with the dual wield build. Work towards maxing your attack out over time. Okay, guys. So if you want to see more stuff like this, all the other guys for the CG units, find the old ones in the playlist section. Subscribe and make sure you have that button pushed on, notification always on, so you don't miss anything when it comes out. Thank you guys for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.